There's an epidemic in this country. I mean, yeah, we've got COVID going on right now, but there's another epidemic we have to worry about. The epidemic of ignorance. Right now, what we are dealing with in American society is people are grossly misinterpreting the idea of freedom of speech, citing the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. The only thing that is mentioned in the Constitution in regards to free speech is that Congress cannot make any laws regarding free speech. It cannot. The only thing that is written in the Constitution in regards to free speech is that Congress cannot pass any laws abridging the right to free speech. Free speech, according to the Constitution anyway, does not entitle you to any kind of platform. It just means that Congress, the federal United States Congress, not even state legislatures, county boards, homeowners associations, whatever, any kind of organization, private or public, that doesn't apply to any of that. The Constitution only applies to Congress acting upon free speech. People who are claiming that the right to free speech is violated when they get kicked off social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, etc., that is not a violation of free speech. Congress is not kicking you off of Facebook. Facebook is kicking you off of Facebook. You are violating their terms of service in their eyes, ergo, you need to be kicked off. If you are pushing any kind of asinine view of the world, whether it be flat earth, anti-vax, COVID being fake, conspiracy theories like 9/11 being an inside job, things like that. If the platform that you are using as a social media network doesn't like you posting that on their website, they are perfectly at liberty to kick you off. You are not entitled to be there. It would be like if you just walked into somebody's house and just plopped down on the couch and said, "Oh, I'm entitled to be here because I've got freedom of whatever." No, it doesn't work that way. You're on somebody's private property. You don't have the right to be there. It's the same thing with the internet. Internet websites are privately owned, except for government websites. Those are obviously publicly owned. But Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok, things like that, those are privately owned organizations who do not have to leave you on there. You are not entitled to the use of their services. If you're peddling bullshit, if you are peddling bullshit, they have every right to kick you off. And I don't understand why people aren't getting that. These people claim to, know the Constitution inside and out. But then if you actually read the Constitution, it does not protect these people in any way, shape, or form. And that needs to be, more addressed. The people who are claiming that they are backed by the Constitution need to look at the Constitution and realize, no, they are not backed by the Constitution. The First Amendment only says, and not even just for freedom of speech, but freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly. The First Amendment only applies to Congress not being able to abridge those rights. Private organizations, state legislatures, state governments, city governments, they are not beholden to that amendment unless they have made, state constitutions that include that for their specific state. But they are not beholden to the First Amendment. And people need to realize that. We have allowed ignorance to run rampant in this society for too long. For some reason, we as a society have just agreed to give everybody a fair shot and opinion. And that is a very dangerous game that we are playing. I'm not for thought policing by any stretch of the imagination. Even as, staunch of an atheist as I am, how much I hate what religion has done to society as a whole, it does not change that, thought policing those things out of existence would be, drastically horrible to do. Like, whatever somebody wants to think in the privacy of their own home, of their own brain, is perfectly fine. But for some reason, we as a society have agreed to just accept that those people deserve a platform. And they don't. Anybody who has an opinion that vehemently disagrees with observation and data and understanding does not deserve a platform, and we as a society need to get on that ball. Allowing misinformation to run rampant under the guise of free speech is dangerous. We are playing with dynamite, and it's about to blow. If not already. That is not an artless euphemism, by the way. We need to come together as a society and say enough is enough. The bullshit, the lies, the division, it needs to stop. And it's not coming from where the right thinks it's coming from. The left is not trying to divide this country. Both the right and the left have the objective of unifying the country. We all want the same thing, but we're going about it in different ways. The right has their, very conservative, almost, theocratic, oligarchical, I think that's the adjective form of oligarchy, but theocratic, oligarchical path that they've tried to lay out, while the left is more progressive and more based off of science, and the two just aren't meshing, and that's the problem. Is most of the bullshit, objectively, is coming from the right. Like, most anti-vaxxers, most conspiracy theorists, most, COVID deniers, things like that, they all come from conservative backgrounds. That's not a coincidence. I can attest to that as a former Catholic. Not that I was raised in a conservative environment. Actually, my Catholic upbringing was rather liberal. Actually, my parents still, had us learn about science. They had us learn about evolution. We believed in evolution and the Big Bang. Well, not believed in, but we believed evolution. We believed the Big Bang. Like, we looked at the data and knew that these things happened. I would argue my family is actually more pantheistic, or I can't say for myself that I'm pantheistic, I'm an atheist, but I would like to think that I had a very pantheistic upbringing, because we believed in a God that, just kind of, set the universe into existence and then kind of let it take its course. I think there may still have been a little bit of an interventionalist factor in my faith, but for the most part, it was decently pantheistic. But that's neither here nor there. My point was that people from conservative backgrounds tend to, take things more off of faith and more off of, well, this person said this, so it must be true, or, this is a trusted source to me, so it must be true. Even when that trusted source has been thoroughly debunked numerous times, and anything that, does show to debunk that source, these people just, toss off as, as fake, or, a government plant, or a shill, or whatever. And that's where the problem lies, is nobody is willing to have not an argument, nobody's willing to have a discussion anymore. People just want their opinion to be right, regardless of whether or not it matches the data. And that's not okay. That is very much not okay. The CDC isn't saying all these things about COVID and the vaccines and everything because there's any kind of nefarious agenda behind it. And that, unfortunately, is something else we're dealing with in this country, is a lot of people, especially on the right, don't believe in any kind of altruism. They always think that whoever they're dealing with has some kind of agenda that they want to push. And that's not the case. I mean, unless you count, just the preservation of the human race and the betterment of society as an agenda, then guilty is charged. That is all I want out of society, is the betterment of humanity, the preservation of humanity. I mean, we're going to need to come together as a world at some point. This isolationist policy that a lot of conservatives are trying to push, where they want America to be totally self-reliant and not have to deal with any other country in the world, that is also a dangerous game that we're playing. We need to not cut ourselves off from the rest of the world. And unfortunately, we're doing a really good job of that right now. There are several countries that still won't let us travel there because we haven't gotten COVID under control, because we've let these people who think COVID is fake and think that the vaccines are dangerous, we've given them a platform. And anytime they challenge the taking away of that platform, the platforms just fall back in line. They let these people back because they don't want to deal with the backlash. And that also needs to stop, because that's just being lazy at that point. You can't just sit back and recoil anytime somebody challenges you. If you're right and you've got the legal standing to back it up, take that stand. Don't let them get away with the bullshit. All social media sites are guilty of this. Anytime somebody pushes back at all, they recoil, and they walk back everything that they just did because somebody pushed back. It's all about the money to them. They don't want to lose. They don't want to lose any of their profits or revenue, and they're not taking. They're not taking the principles of, truth and the legality and everything to heart. They're just worried about the money. And we've even seen that happen. I was just watching an episode of Last Week Tonight earlier today, and they were talking about the Taiwan and China kerfuffle. Debacle. That's the word I was looking for. Not kerfuffle. But anyway, anytime, especially in the United States, anytime any organization or person has, stepped in and said, hey, Taiwan is its own separate country, which it absolutely is. I don't care if, somebody wants to, get me out on that or not. I'm just a small YouTuber. I'm not going to walk back anything on that. But anybody who says that Taiwan is its own separate country is immediately attacked by the Chinese government and demanded that an apology and withdrawal are issued. And because they don't want to have anything negative tied to them, they don't want to potentially lose any money or revenue off of it, they walk it back. The almighty dollar has played so much into our society. And it's leading to the spread of misinformation. Because anytime somebody gets challenged on something, they walk it back because they don't want to lose money. And that's not okay. Stand on your principles. Stand on your terms of service. If you're not going to enforce your terms of service, what's the point of having the terms of service in the first place? The terms of service are there for a reason. And again, that does not, have anything to do with free speech. If you are being kicked off a platform because you're doing something that the platform doesn't like, tough shit. You're not, they're not there for you, they're there for them. And if you don't want to get kicked off the platform, don't do shit that the platform doesn't like. That should be common sense. I know I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but there were a lot of points that I wanted to make in this, and it kind of all tied together at the end. I just wanted to get this out on, on camera, just get my thoughts out in somewhere where I can, revisit them and whatnot. But I am gonna go ahead and post this anyway. If you guys do want to see more, just candid ramblings like this on my thoughts of the world, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I will try to do some of these more often just because I like, talking and getting my thoughts out. So, again, if you guys enjoy this, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.